Okay gang, so welcome to this video on how to complete a risk assessment. Now what you'll see on your screen is a risk assessment template that we commonly use within college. Now you'll go to engineering, you might see various different templates, but this is just the example that we use. They should all contain the same key information. Now this is a template that you'll find in your work pack, which is available on the VLE, and on the VLE you'll also find a bit of guidance on how to complete not only the risk assessment but also the other sections of that work pack. But what we're going to do during this video is I'm going to run through how to identify a hazard, how to actually complete the risk assessment section of this. We'll have a chat about the key elements and then I'll set you on your way and you can have a go at your own. Now what you'll see here is I've got the whole of the top section completed. Now assessor, that's me, in your case it's going to be you. The reference is unit 17, which is a unit we're currently studying, and I've got today's date, which is the 12th of Jan. Now I've also underneath there I've got a review date, so I've got a review date of 6 months because obviously things will change in our workshop, so we'll have to come back and re-evaluate these risks. Description is fitting and assembly, which is the unit that you're working towards, and then you've got the location, which is our engineering workshop, which is room T3. Now all the headings you'll see along the top here, all common on your everyday risk assessment. You might see a slightly different format, slightly different layout, but these are the main areas that should be contained within there. Now underneath you'll see I've got the severity and probability table. That is on the separate PowerPoint presentation that matches up alongside your work pack, so please make sure you refer to that as you're working your way through, as I will be doing. Now also in there you'll find a list of hazards that you can select, who affected groups may be, and show you how to do the calculation, have a look at control measures, risk levels, and then re-evaluate that at the end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick a nice and simple common everyday hazard that is in all sorts of different workplaces, and particularly in engineering workshops. Slip, trips and falls. So an object's lying on the floor, I fall over it, I run the risk of injuring myself. So what I need to do here is I've identified that as a hazard, and I need to decide who's going to be affected by this hazard. Now in our case it's going to be us, the operator, you, but it could also be our visitors. It could also be your colleagues. Okay, I'm just going to pop that down onto the next row there. Forward slash in. Now if I were to fall over in our engineering workshop and hit my face against a vise on a workbench, then that's going to be quite a severe injury. So what I need to do now is I need to have a look at how severe I think that may be. Okay, now if I did fall over, I hit my head against a vise, I could, render myself unconscious. I may have to go to hospital. That would, in my opinion, that would constitute a major injury. You might decide it's a fatality, but in this case I'm going to take that number 4 from the major injury category and I'm going to pop it into severity, and it goes there. Okay, now you may decide that you want to go for 5, you may decide you want to go for 3. There are various different opinions on how severe that injury might be, and you might have your own. I'm going to go for a major injury, but that doesn't necessarily make it right, it just means it's my opinion. I've got the same scenario when it comes down to probability here. So this probability that I'm going to put into this box here is the probability of this hazard turning into an accident before I've put control measures in place. Okay, so before I do anything, before I put any measures in place to prevent this turning into an accident, then the likelihood of that slip, trip and fall taking place is probably quite high. So in this case, I'll probably go for 4 again, or even 5. I'm going to go for 5 this time. Alright, now to actually calculate your risk level, you simply multiply the severity by the probability and you get a risk rating of 20. Alright, now on your PowerPoint presentation that comes alongside this job pack, you'll see that 25 is the highest risk level and 20 is extremely high, so we need to put some control measures in place to bring this value down. Okay, so what control measures can we put in place to prevent slips, trips and falls turning into an accident? Now a nice simple one, nice and easy, one that you can apply to all sorts of different workplaces, is to have good housekeeping procedures. Okay, so we tidy our work up at the end of the day or throughout the day. If we have any any spillages, we mop them up and we dispose of the material. So if we've got good housekeeping procedures, then people can, start to work a bit more effectively, and they don't have to worry too much about the hazards when it comes to that one. So if we've got those habits, which are good habits, clean up after ourselves. If we drop something, we move it, we don't have any trailing cables, then those are good housekeeping procedures. Now, what that would do is that would reduce the risk of this slip, trips and falls turning into an accident. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to recalculate this risk level. Now, if I did fall over and bash my head, then in my opinion, it'd still be quite a major injury. Okay, but if I put these control measures in place, then the probability's going to drop, isn't it? So if I would, in my opinion, again you might disagree, I would suggest that it's probability is probably going to drop down to 2. So it's unlikely to happen if I put some control measures in place. Now, I'm never going to get these risk levels down to 0 because there will always be some form of hazard in the workplace. But we're all going to try and get this risk level down as low as possible. So we multiply 4 times 2. You don't need to be a rocket surgeon to work out that's 8. Okay, so you can see what I've done is I've taken a high risk level, I've put some control measures in place, and I've reduced it by quite some way. Now, to reduce that again, I can put some additional control measures in place. So I could put a walkway in that people have to stick to. I could put some signs up to identify any materials that are on the floor. Okay, so what that would do then is it would reduce this risk level even further. Okay, so we can see we've got a completed hazard risk level assessment. What you're going to do now is you're going to work your way through, and on your template you've got 6 different hazards to identify. And what you'll find is that when you start to identify these, you'll build up a bit of practice, and then complete risk assessments will become second nature to you. So I'm going to leave that with you to complete. Please make sure that when you do complete your risk assessment that you save your document. Okay, and when you've got it saved, then obviously you need to remember where that is, so that when it comes to submission time, you've got it to hand. So thanks for listening, and hopefully that has been of interest and of some use, and we'll look forward to receiving your work. So